vaccinated. So there's a higher incidence of vaccination within the tourist sector, the tourism industry sector.
Okay, understood. Kevin or Azem, any question for Sir Julian, as I call him?
Well, I mean, it's interesting to see the whole approach to the vaccination situation there. I mean, obviously, that seems to be the common thread between the two stories that we were discussing this morning, and it seems to be something that's being discussed all around the world, not just in the Caribbean or even Jamaica. But just based on your feelings of what's happening on the ground and how people are talking about discussing the vaccine, do you believe that in fact the Prime Minister will have to get to a point where there has to be a mandate to be vaccinated?
I'm only a journalist and not a soothsayer.
like our friend Peter Wickham.
I mean, what can I say? I think most of us would hope that he doesn't have to go the mandatory way, because it is already misunderstood when you talk about mandatory vaccinations. So that it would, it is a very tough position for anybody to take, whether it's a government or a private sector interest, as the case may be, because it generates far more negatives than positives that you would really expect within our environments. So that I noticed that in Barbados, for instance, they're appealing there for people to come up with ideas to encourage people to be vaccinated. I think it is one more indication that, hey, we kind of almost giving up now because we've done everything. We provided the vaccination, we provided the public education, we provided the options, we provided the facilities for testing, etc. What else can you do to be able to convince people that it is in the interest of everybody to create a safe environment? And people have gone back, we've all gone back to talking about the fact that as children, we all got vaccinated. In fact, in our travels around the world, we can't really go to certain countries unless we have, the smallpox and the yellow fever, etc. We've done that without resistance. So it is, I keep saying is that it's like we're operating on the basis that a little learning is a dangerous thing. In other words, we're so exposed to all the objections all over the world that we literally have adopted and embraced it as one other element of so-called freedom, rights, etc. It's all mixed up. I mean, I'm looking at the University of the West Indies protest by students in Barbados at Cave Hill, for instance, and they're objecting to the university putting in place a mechanism to stop them from cheating. I mean, I don't know what else is going to happen next.
I don't know. We live in a very strange world, and we live in strange times. That's what I would say. I'm sorry, you were going to say something?
No, I mean just the example that he said, and what we're seeing across the board. You say we're living in strange times. It seems to me like we're living in a time where it's almost like we try to take away consequence from anything. Like we seem to try to limit consequence wherever possible, and I do believe that has their effects moving forward. But hey, what you gonna do? These are the times we live in.
These are the times.
Just remember that freedom has responsibilities, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Absolutely. Listen, Mr. Rogers.
I don't understand overnight, two things. Hold on, Darren. Can I ask you, please? 2 words to
Not
drop.
Call you Mr. Rogers. I'm sorry.
Veteran and Mr. Veteran and Mr.
Okay. Okay. Very well.
Good.
Abu Bakr.
Yeah.
has passed away at the age of 80. I got that news overnight. Somebody beat you to sharing the news with me, Julian. One of my listeners here in Antigua sent me that. I think it was about 10 o'clock last night. So she beat you to the punch. But just to remind our listeners about the impact that this gentleman had on the political landscape of Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, the coup that took place,
Good
of
attempt.
course, marring the history. Yeah, the coup attempt, sorry. Yeah, so speak to us about that because I did tell the listeners that you have an encyclopedic knowledge of this particular event as well as many other things. But yeah, we're speaking about
Gosh.
Abu Bakr.
Yeah. Actually, in 1990, when this particular attempt was made by Abu Bakr and his Muslim colleagues, I was in Barbados and monitored the situation from there. But it turned out that there was that was the time of the National Alliance for Reconstruction government in Trinidad. It's the only time that that Trinidad has had up to that point a party that was not the PNM. And so Ian R. Robinson was prime minister, and the economics environment at the time was such that there was great unhappiness, etc. And Abu Bakr and his people took opportunity of that environment on all days of when Trinidad was playing against the United States at the National Stadium, and all hell broke loose in the afternoon of that event. The result was that many people lost their lives because the Muslimin created chaos in town, starting a number of fires, etc. They stormed the parliament and had A.N.R. Robinson and several parliamentarians in custody. They also stormed the radio and television system, which was TTT at the time. Back to TTT these days is the name, and announced on the news with a good buddy of mine, Jones P. Madeira, reading the statement from Abu Bakr with a gun at his head, literally, that they had taken over to save Trinidad and Tobago, etc. All right, so that went on for some time. I won't give you the timeline on that now, but just to quickly work it up, where they shot A.N.R. Robinson in the leg. And he is reported to have said in a message to the armed forces leader at the time, no surrender. And they were prepared to bomb. That is, the armed forces were ordered to literally bomb the parliament and take these people out, bomb TTT and take them out, etc. Eventually, Winston Ducaran, who emerged as the acting prime minister later on, would forge an amnesty with these people who had been captured and taken down to Teteron Bay, which is the military base there in Trinidad. On the way out of that, they were just freed on the basis of this amnesty. There were several attempts over the years to be able to bring them to boot for the particular crime against the state, but it never succeeded because of this amnesty, which was ruled to be legal, etc. Abu Bakr continued over the years to get a reputation of and his colleagues of fighting crime in Trinidad and Tobago. There were claims that he and his group were supportive of the PNM in one election period, etc. I think Trinidadians would be happy to see the back of him, quite honestly, because he caused them so much pain. And two things they remember again and again about 1990, the day they lost to the United States and did not get to go to the World Cup that time. And the other was this attempted coup by the Muslimin.
Right. Yeah, the comments were quite interesting, let's put it that way, on that link that you shared with me. Very, very interesting comments. Many, like you said, celebrating, and then those who, of course, who criticize and say, despite all that, he's still human. We are all a part of humanity, and we shouldn't celebrate or speak ill of him at this time. And so it was interesting just watching some of the or reading some of the comments in the comment section. on that particular piece by
And
saying
I
so that we.
and I'll give you a quickly related one here.
Mm,
Somebody said to me that when St. Kitts premier at the time, Mr. Bradshaw, got this gift of a TV station from the British government, that when the technical people came and they wanted to know where they locate the television operation, he lived right next door to ZIZ at the time, and he said, "Come," and he took them through the entrance of the military camp, which was right next door, and said, "You put it here." Said, "This will never happen like it did in Trinidad." But anyhow, the timelines are different.
yes, he did. I think I remember that. Somebody has told that story to us recently, and that was quite funny.
Yeah.
Do you think though that also this week, Julian, and I wanted to invite your comment on it very briefly before we wrap in about 5 minutes or so. The passing of Morris Bishop. There was an anniversary this week on his passing, or should I say his assassination. The the Grenada revolution that unraveled back when I was a wee tot. Did you mark that day at all, or were you a part of any conversations? Did you say anything on social media?
Would you believe?
Marking?
Would you
Yeah, go
believe?
ahead.
Would you believe I missed it? And it's interesting you raise it because I think I don't know what happened, but somewhere along the way it did come into my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was triggered by the fact that somebody was asking me about Radio Antilles, and I was talking about the fact that we had a journalist called Lou Smith from Grenada, who was the first person to talk to Morris Bishop when he took over the government years earlier.
Right.
So that was my memory, but I certainly missed this date that you're referring to. But
Yeah, 2 days ago, I believe it was on
yeah,
Wednesday. If I'm not mistaken.
yeah, I
Yeah.
should remember October the 17th, was it?
Yes, October 17th.
Yeah, October
I'm
17th.
pulling it up now just to make sure that I'm not misleading or
Yeah.
engaging in the spread of
No,
information.
you're right. You're very right
Yeah.
about the killing of Morris Bishop at Fort
Fort George.
Fort huh
Fort
the
George.
Fort. No, it wasn't Fort George. I'll think of. Is it Fort George? I think it had a different name, but anyhow, it will come back to me.
Mm.
I don't want to say age because you will go again and say veteran.
Fort
So
George. Well, it was Fort Rupert at the time.
Fort Rupert, that's it.
Yeah, it was
Fort Rupert. Yeah,
Right, October 19th, 1983.
is
Morris Bishop
19th,
was
right?
executed along with 10 others. Fort
Yeah,
George. Sorry, Fort Rupert. No, Fort George. I guess
yeah,
when
that's
I
it.
got to see it for the first time, it was introduced to me as Fort George. So I guess that's why it's stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Fort George. But yes.
Again, another very serious development in Caribbean history, really. Maurice Bishop, Jackie Kreff, and a number of other people who were taken up to the fort and executed by firing squad. That again is another one of those days in Grenada's history that it will not be forgotten. One of the bloodiest developments in Caribbean history, particularly. And I remember, as you talk about it now, interviewing his mother subsequently, Elementera. She has a name like Elementera. I'm trying to remember, but anyhow, but she was desperate, like many other people who supported Morris, to find his body. The body was never ever found. It was said to be burned somewhere in the country. And that one, hangs with people. And then, of course, you got the eventual capture of the people behind this all, and in prison, trial and imprisonment, etc. But hey, we could spend a whole morning talking about Grenada in that context.
Yes, we could. Yeah. All right. Just before we wrap, Julian, any regional story other than, of course, the death of Abu Bakr and the developments in Jamaica that you chronicled for us during the opening portion of our segment this morning. Any other regional story or international story that caught your attention during the course of this week?
Me, you said?
Julian? Yeah, you.
Oh, me.
Start the show, my friend.
Oh,
Yes,
France.
you.
That's a sad story in New Mexico with the filming where Alex Baldwin shot two people definitely. One died and the other one has been able to survive. That one is really top of mind this morning as I look out there. It's kind of sad that these accidents happen. They happened before. So.
Okay. Well, I didn't even know a thing, but the tech is saying, yeah, he's following you. He just showed me a piece there from Al Jazeera.
Yeah, I think it happened on a movie set.
Yeah, on a movie set.
On a movie set, yeah.
Yeah,
It was a prop. It was a prop gun. Wasn't supposed to kill anybody because it's supposed to have blanks, but God knows. We'll find out eventually what happened there.
Wow. Well, thank you for that, Julian. That one went over my head. I didn't even know about that. Thank you so much. Well,
you, Darren, missed something? I can't believe that.
Yes, apparently I do miss things. Unfortunately, I do miss things. My critics would be quick to point out that I am of course fallible. Imperfect.
I have to share this one quickly because I noticed there was a letter writer who accused you of not being hard enough on Max Herson and the Prime Minister, Gaston Brown, etc. And I was just smiling to myself, and I wanted to respond and say to them, they must be joking to think that Darren is not tough on interviewers. I want to make it quite clear here that sometimes, some people talk a lot of foolishness. You can't. It would be a waste of time to continuously interjecting to say to them, hey, look, you come very close to telling them you're a liar. I think that what comes out of people's mouths is what judges them. And therefore, I think that the audience in Antigua and Barbuda is smart enough to discern whether somebody's giving them the truth or giving them a lie. And I think, Darren, you're doing a great job. Somebody asked me, in fact, if you're a journalist, and I said, hey, he's definitely a journalist. Don't be fooled by the fact that he sells insurance during the day. He is a solid journalist, and the audience is proof of that. And his credibility, I would say, is the highest. And anybody who wants to challenge me on that, come meet me on where now? Devil's Bridge.
Well, Julian, you're almost making me get emotional. But listen, this is the song that I selected to respond because I thought Jade was going to throw me on the bus, and I think we're going to conclude with this song, if that's okay. It's one of my favorites from Robert Nesta Marley.
Give up, stand up.